Hey there, all you amazing resellers. Welcome to Fashion Flip News, the very first episode, which is actually really exciting. Now, this is your ultimate destination for the hottest reseller updates and news. So today I have some game-changing platform updates in regards to Poshmark and whatnot. I also have some details on some reseller drama. I also have some tips and tricks for you to help you elevate your reselling business. So if this is something that you're interested in, go ahead, grab a drink, get cozy, and keep watching. Resellers, I'm your host Brandy, and today I have some amazing stuff for you. First, I'm going to kick it off in our segment called Reselling Gone Wild, and this covers all of the things that are trending in the reseller world this past week. I have 3 things for you today. One is about a reseller who shared some pallet sources and got some backlash on Instagram. After that, I'm going to cover this new AI tool for resellers where it basically does your entire listing, which is nuts. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about this new feature that Poshmark is offering sellers where we have the ability to offer partial refunds. After that segment, I will be covering this week's BOLO, share some noteworthy what sold, share a tip to elevate your business, and then we're gonna wrap it up in the tech corner where I talk about platform updates. And this week we're talking about Whatnot and their new feature, buy now, pay later. The reselling community is known for helping each other. We share thrift hauls, we share what's sold, we share tips and tricks so that we can grow our business. But there's this one topic that is kind of like this unwritten rule that we really just don't talk about, and that's pallets. Now, I want to take a moment to first share what happened this last week with a popular reseller who shared some pallet sources, and I really want to look at the lens of 2 types of sellers, and then I'm going to share our perspective when it comes to pallets. So let's talk about what happened this past week. So there was a popular reseller who shared an Instagram reel with 5 pallet sources, which I thought were fantastic sources, but she did get some backlash from some resellers that I don't think that she was anticipating on receiving. Of course, she received a lot of love, which is fantastic, right? This is what our community is all about. But the backlash was actually a little surprising, but then it wasn't. So comment down below. Tell me how you feel. Do you think that pallet sources should be shared? Why or why not? Now, I want to take a moment to put on the lens. I think we should put on the lens of someone who currently uses pallets for their business, and then someone who's maybe new to reselling and they're interested in getting into the pallet business. So first, let's talk about the reseller that utilizes pallets for their business. Now, most of these resellers that use pallets, they have spent a lot of time, money, and effort to get a pallet partner. Now, I say that because unfortunately, a lot of pallet companies are not trustworthy. There's been a plethora of resellers that have gotten scammed and they've lost money. They've lost money in their business. They lost money for their family. So once a reseller finds that pallet partner, they tend to protect that relationship. And once that partner gets out into the open, that increases the demand and then the prices go up, right? I think most of us as resellers have seen that at Goodwill, right? Goodwill caught on that resellers are going to their store and flipping the items, and we've seen just obscene prices. I mean, like $40 for a pair of Old Navy, like jeans. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So when we tap into the pallet space, it definitely shifts gears. Also, there's one thing in general that I want to mention in regards to pallets, and the fact that pallets can be a very risky business strategy, right? Because pallets tend to be thousands of dollars. Then you have to consider shipping if it's out of state. And then what if you get 100 pairs of the same shirt and the same size? You're almost in competition with yourself at that point. So once that seller has found a pallet partner, again, that they trust, where they have that relationship, you tend to protect that because you kind of look at it as protecting your business, protecting your financial investment into the pallet. So we've covered that, right? We see the lens of the reseller that uses pallets for their reselling business. Now let's take a moment to talk about a reseller who's maybe interested in introducing pallets into their business strategy. Now, I get it, right? We all help each other. You go on YouTube and you see helpful videos, you go on Instagram, you go on TikTok, you go on Facebook, and we are all so helpful towards each other. I get it. And you may have experienced, asking someone who's your pallet source, and you may have gotten their response, I'm gonna take that to my grave. And you could feel like, whoa, I don't even know if I want to be a part of this community. I'm not even saying that I was even going to contact your pallet source. I really was just genuinely interested. I'm not trying to threaten your business or threaten you. I'm coming from a good place. I get that. So I understand both positions. So I really would like to share my stance when it comes to pallets and what I really want to encourage those in the reselling community. But first, I need to share a disclaimer that in my business model, I do not currently do pallets. I'm not saying that it's not something that I would be interested in the future, but as of today, I do not do pallets. I hand source every single item because I think it allows me to have better control on the type of items that I have available for sale. Okay, enough about me. What's the stance? Our stance here at the Fashion Flip is to, if you're thinking about entering pallets into your business model, first make sure that you're okay with the potential financial risk, right? As I mentioned at the beginning of this segment, there are pallet sources that are not trustworthy. Let's say that you spend $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 and then you realize that it's a scam. Is that something that you're able to handle financially? Is this something that would be devastating to your business or to your family? And so that's something to consider, is that there's going to be a risk factor there. Also consider storage. Do you have the proper space to be able to support 1 or 2 pallets? It's going to take up a lot of space, so that's something else to think about. Now, I do want to share some tips as far as if you are looking to get into the pallet space, coming from someone who doesn't do pallets, but I think that I can share some tips because it's something that I have looked into before. Now, my tips, if you're wanting to jump into the pallet space, is to go onto Google, use certain keywords like liquidation, closeout, pallet, store closing. You'll be surprised that there's a lot of companies that are liquidating their merchandise. Now, I recommend you starting local first so that you can save money on the cost of shipping, because shipping in itself could be $1,000 and that will eat into your profit. So if there's a company that you can find locally that's liquidating, that might be a good place to start. And you never know, they might have some sources across the nation that you can partner with and start those relationships and find another organization that has pallets or is liquidating. Okay, let's take a moment to talk about this new reseller AI tool that does your whole listing, which is nuts. So it's called Auto List AI, and what you do on your end is you take pictures and then you upload it onto the platform, and the AI creates the entire listing. It does the title, it does the description, it does suggested pricing. It basically creates your entire listing, and then it puts it into a section in the platform, and then you can go and make modifications as you want, and then you click a button, list all, and then it cross lists onto Poshmark, eBay, Mercari. Now, to my understanding, they're thinking about introducing additional platforms like Shopify, Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, Depop. I mean, there's others on the list, but I don't really know them, so I didn't list them. But I'll put a link below where you can learn more about this new tool that's coming out. Now, it's not officially released, but you do have the option to get early access. So join that wait list. I know I did. I'm super excited to try out this new AI because whatever is going to help me save time and listing an item, I'm going to take that. Like, honestly, my least favorite part is the description. Not fun. So Poshmark is shaking things up with this new feature that they're testing where they allow sellers to give partial refunds. Now, this only is available for certain closets across the US, and so I'm curious, is this feature available for you? Comment down below. I want to know. It's currently not available for me, but spill the tea. Like, if it is available, how do you feel about it? Have you used it? Like, you got to tell us the goods. Also, is Poshmark getting feedback from you? Because that was my understanding. But anyways, let's talk about how this feature is going to work. So when a customer opens a case to return an item, us as the seller, we have 3 options. One is we will be able to offer a partial refund. And the cool thing with this is that as the seller, you can select the partial refund amount. And as long as the customer agrees, then that amount will be deducted from your net earnings. A couple of things that I want to point out here is that for those who've been selling on Poshmark for a while, you probably feel like, well, this was kind of already available because I've experienced this to some degree where Poshmark actually gave a partial refund to myself and or the buyer based on the situation. Now, although I've experienced that, I wouldn't say that in the past 7 years I've experienced it all that much, but in that situation, Poshmark is actually covering the cost. So I almost see it as this cost is moving from Poshmark to the seller. But again, I like the fact that as a seller, I have the ability to offer a refund based on a situation. Now, as sellers, I'm not a perfect seller. I make mistakes. I may have missed something, a mark or I don't know. And I want to make sure that that person is happy, because if our customers are happy, then they want to come back and shop Poshmark. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is we have the ability to immediately have the item returned to us, and then Poshmark will continue to cover the shipping, which is fantastic. If we had to cover the shipping, that really would be a bummer because it gets pretty expensive, especially if you already paid for a portion of the shipping or you covered the whole thing, you offered free shipping for that customer. So I like that Poshmark is going to continue to cover that cost. And I will say personally that I plan on using this feature of just immediately offering a return because, one, in most cases, I just want my item back. Okay, you're not happy, that's okay. I don't care why you're not happy. I don't care if the item doesn't fit in your... Honestly, that's how I prefer to run my business. I also have an eBay store where I allow 60-day returns. If someone is not happy, they will not come back. So I want you to return it. If you don't like it, return it, get your money back. That's personally why I am like an Amazon and Costco customer for life, because they allow me to return, no questions asked. They don't give me attitude. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So that's the second option. The third option is actually a little interesting because this option is available after the item has been returned to you, but it was returned in a different condition in which you sent it in. So for example, let's say you sold a dress that was new with tags, but when you got it back, the tags weren't there. It was clear that the person wore the dress. You see all their deodorant. I'm just kidding. But it's basically not in the same condition. You can report an issue with that return and then Poshmark will step in. Now, as a seller, I will say that I'm thankful for this option because I've heard some terrible stories with returns, people not getting the same item back, the box being empty. So again, I appreciate Poshmark supporting the seller in that situation. So what do you think about these options? Do you think you'll take advantage of them? Which one is your favorite? Which one is like, there's no way I would offer that? Now, I want to share what some Poshers are saying, because this is a pretty popular topic in the reseller world. So I want to take a moment to share my thoughts on some pros and cons when it comes to this new feature that is being released. And then I want to share a quote that I came across. So let's talk about some pros of this. So I think one of the pros is that us as sellers, we have more options, because we kind of didn't have that many options before. Like once someone opens a case, you're kind of like at the mercy of Poshmark's decision. So I like that I have a little bit more control in this situation. And also, as I mentioned earlier, is I'm thankful that Poshmark is still going to cover the shipping if the item is returned back to me, because that really could be a high cost from what I'm already tapping into my net profit. It's just not something that I'm looking forward to if that was something that they were to move on to us. Now let's talk about a couple of the cons from my perspective. One is, and I really should say concerns as opposed to cons. One is, I think that this will potentially increase the return requests, because customers will learn very quickly that this option is available to them. And so it kind of takes away one of the advantages of selling on Poshmark, is that all sales are final. And so I think that that's kind of going to change it a little bit more. And then two, but kind of on the same note, is that I feel like some customers may take advantage of it by potentially paying less than what they paid for. So let's say you sold something for $15, which, that in itself hurts already, right? But they opened up a case and said, it's not the exact brown that you said it was, or what I thought it was going to be. I want to return it. And in that situation, you decide to offer a partial refund. I mean, you're taking your net profit from $12 and then just decreasing it significantly at that point. And then the customer just paid less. So I don't know, that's a little bit of a concern for me. But I really want to encourage myself and really encourage all of my Posh people out there that we gotta stop assuming the worst when someone opens a case. We automatically assume that they are trying to scam us, that, they're going to destroy the item. And I've seen a lot of responses, and I've even had those thoughts of my own, to be honest. So I wanted to share this quote with you that I came across, and it says, "A happy customer tells a friend, an unhappy customer tells the world." If we take care of our people and don't assume the worst, we're going to have happy customers. We can still have a happy customer if they receive the item, it wasn't what they expected. We offer a return immediately, no questions asked, and they're happy. They're gonna want to come back to the Poshmark app and purchase, and maybe even become a seller one day. This week's BOLO, which is by the brand Cara Cara. Cara Cara was founded in 2019 by Julia Brown, Sasha Martin, and Katie Hobbs. They are all about celebrating real beauty and strong bonds. So these three ladies, they became friends through their kids in New York and realized that they had 50 years of combined experience in fashion, digital, and marketing. So these three ladies wanted to bring a fresh vibe to women's clothing, so they created Cara Cara. And it's a brand that's all about comfy yet glamorous styles for everyday life. So this company, Cara Cara, is fantastic. Their solds are amazing. Here, I'm gonna share some solds on Poshmark. You can see items ranging between $135 to $250. I will say that most of their items will be in the $200 range. Most of their designs have a lot of floral, lace, more midi and maxi length dresses. They're just very feminine, classic staple pieces that really just never go out of style. Now, I will also share the brand tags so that when you're out in the wild sourcing, you can easily identify this brand, Cara Cara. Now this week I have 3 noteworthy what sold gold, and we first have to kick it off with this brand that I have never heard of, which is called Danner, and they are men's boots, and it seems like they're more work boots, and they are these substantial boots that are made to really withhold working outside. So this one in particular, this sale, I thought was just fantastic. These boots sold for $395, and in addition, the buyer paid for shipping of $19.30. One thing that I wanted to mention here that kind of goes back to Poshmark offering partial refunds is that this seller in particular offers free returns. I as well offer free returns on eBay, and if the item is good, the likeliness of the customer returning these boots is slim to none. But Danner is the brand of the boots. Definitely be on the lookout. That is a for sure BOLO big win. This allows you to spend up if you need to, even if you have to spend $100 or $50 or whatever that price looks like. This is definitely a BOLO. All right, this next one is Veronica Beard Miller Dickey Blazer Jacket. Now, this is the type of blazer jacket that comes in different styles. You'll see checkered, you'll see white, blue, animal print. It is Veronica Beard's one of her most popular blazers, and they sell like hotcakes. So here are some examples of some items that have sold, and then I'm also going to be sharing the brand tag so that when you're out in the wild and you're looking at the jackets, blazers section, you know exactly what that is. So be on the lookout for Veronica Beard, the Miller Dickey jacket blazer. Last but not least, this was one of my favorite what solds of this past week in my personal closet, and this is Caroline Consta's. It is a cold shoulder sweater, size small. It actually retailed for almost $500. Can we just take a moment and say, who's paying $500 for a sweater? Please. And what are you doing for a living? Because the way my bank account is set up, I'm not paying $500 for a sweater. But anyways, okay. Now that we got that out of the way, this was one of my favorite sales of this week because I paid $5 for this sweater. And when I was sourcing, you know how like when you're going through the racks and you fill all of the materials, when I felt this sweater, I was like, ah, I could like hear the angels singing because it was so freaking soft. So anyways, once I saw that it was Caroline Consta's, I knew that I had to pick it up, and I listed this back in March, and I think it took this long to sell because we were in the spring and then the summer, and this is definitely like a fall winter type of sweater. So September 1st it sold, and that makes sense. But be on the lookout for Caroline Constas because there's definitely some big wins with this brand. So for this week's Tech Corner, we're talking about Whatnot and their new buy now, pay later feature that is available for US sellers and US buyers. Now, this is only available for the luxury handbag category, but the plan is that this will be rolled out to other categories once Whatnot has kind of figured out a good flow and made some system changes if needed. So let's talk about how this works. Now, customers will be able to use Klarna, Affirm, and Apple Pay Later. I had to look down and remember. Apple Pay Later. So they can utilize these three options on buy it now options. So as long as the purchase is $50 or more, they'll have that option available to them. I mean, this is fantastic. So if you are currently in the luxury handbag space on Whatnot, add your items to the marketplace right now. Also, if you sell on Poshmark and you have luxury bags, did you know that you can move your Poshmark listings to your Whatnot marketplace? It's super easy. It's like click, 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 click. Easy. If you guys want me to make a video on how you can move your listings from Poshmark to Whatnot on the marketplace, feel free to comment down below. Wow, thank you so much for watching the very first Fashion Flip News. I will be releasing a video every single Monday, so make sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video if you enjoyed today's content. Now, I will be adding additional segments in the future, one being called Steller Reseller, where I plan on highlighting an amazing reseller every single week. I have been really encouraged by people these past 7 years, but if there's someone in particular that you feel just really needs to be highlighted because they have helped you really blossom in your business, or they just radiate positivity, feel free to put their name in the chat or send me a message on Instagram. Another segment that I will be introducing in the future is called Resellers with Questions. So questions that you guys submit to me, I will be answering. So feel free to ask me questions on any reseller platform. I have sold on eBay, The Real, Mercari, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, blah, 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 blah. The list is long. Anyways, I'm happy to help in any way that I can. And if I don't have an answer, I'll be sure to find one for you. Also, I will be introducing another segment that's called Prices That Are Droppin' Like It's Hot, because we all know in business that we all have expenses. So I will be announcing any big sales that we just have to take advantage of. So whether it's Rollo or Dymo printers or whatever the case may be, so that we can really save money in our business, I will be sharing that with you. Now, again, if you enjoyed today's Fashion Flip News, please comment down below. Also, if you have any ideas of something that you would like me to cover, let me know. This is all for us, the reseller community. Thank you so much for just being open. I really am excited to see you guys every single week, every single Monday. I'll see you next time.